Which this is totally Marvel. Nobody knows what Marvel is yet.
Then how are you talking about it, Mike?
This is going to put it on the map, because I'm on the inside. I've got all the knowledge. Welcome to the first episode of Mike Talks Marvel. Frankly, Ashley, we talk about a lot of things. I'm Mike.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Ashley.
And we talk about a lot of things. I'm just a Spider fan, and this is my Spider fam. We have nothing on the docket for the first episode.
Nope.
We've come completely unprepared. Mm-hmm. We don't know what we're going to talk about, except for ourselves. We're just going to kind of introduce ourselves a little bit, right?
It's a good starting point to talk about ourselves.
I like to talk about myself, and I like for you guys to talk about me. So.
All right.
All right, so let's first introduce ourselves by just saying what we're kind of into. So we'll start with you, Ashley.
All right. So, as previously stated, I am Ashley, and I dabble in the comics, and I really, really like pirates and all things pirates, but I also like to cosplay. That's kind of one of my main things that I do and that you'll probably hear about is different conventions and cosplay things. So that's...
Yeah, and you do a great job with the cosplay, and it's
Thank you.
It's really cool to see. And you do a lot of charity events with it, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, I like to take those characters and bring them to, charity events or even fundraisers just to bring smiles to people's faces. So that's kind of what I'm all about.
Frank?
Yeah, I'm a movie buff. I like a lot of movies.
And you're buff.
And no, I'm actually not. I'm the opposite of that.
I would have never known.
Shit, you're right. God, all right, start this whole thing over.
Yes.
I like movies a lot. Mostly superhero movies are like my bread and butter. I love movies so much that I went to school for digital media production, so I got my bachelor's in that. Let's see what I do with that in my life. I mean, I do Photoshop. I like to do Photoshop with her cosplay stuff and other friends' cosplay stuff, and now working with you, doing some cool posters and advertisement stuff. So I guess I am using my degree for something.
And I'm sure in the film school you learned some audio stuff, which is going to be helpful for
this. Yeah,
very
absolutely.
podcast right here.
That you are listening to with your ears, yes.
Did we just break the fourth wall in audio form?
Can we? Is
that
a thing?
Know. I think we did somehow. So I'm Mike. That's the first name in the title because I'm also an egomaniac, and that's my character.
Yeah,
that's who I am.
And you talk Marvel because you love it.
I do. I love Marvel, and that's going to be the tricky thing about this because I think it's going to be we're going to dissect everything Marvel, comic books, movies, and I think the big focus is going to be the TV shows that are about to roll out.
Disney Plus, yeah.
On Disney Plus, and I'm going to try and do it without bias, but I do have that fanboy attitude towards Marvel. But that doesn't mean I won't complain about them sometimes. Like, for example, CB, if you're listening, because I assume on our first episode the editor-in-chief at Marvel is listening. Why aren't you making more Silk comics? That's what I want to know. Silk should be in everything. But you have her in Agents of Atlas, but she's on the covers, but she's not in the stories. Where is she? Where is she? I want more comics with her. Like a 6-part series of her just being locked in that room would be a really great comic book to read. Or a movie. Or a TV show.
Well, I mean, movies kind of pushing it. Do you know how many years I had to wait before they finally announced that they were going to make a Black Widow movie? Because that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And Black Widow has a much bigger history in comic books than Silk does.
It still took forever. So
But
maybe start with the comics.
But I really like Silk, and that should have some kind of say in things. CB.
You're right.
I know you're listening.
Yeah, but who knows? She might be like the next Spider-Verse film.
Yeah, and there's a new Spider-Verse comic coming out, so hopefully she'll play into that a little bit. But I don't understand what this Spider-Verse comic is going to be, because they did a Spider-Verse comic, and then they just finished the Spider-Geddon, which was kind of like part 2.
There's more universes to Spider, you know?
There's always more universes to Spider. I think I just came up with a tagline for myself, and it's just going to be an everyday conversation, too. Like, somebody's going to be like, hey, do you work here? There's always more universes to Spider.
It's like a motivational, like
But then again, you can also use it to justify doing something, because then you can say like, oh, just in another Spider universe, I'm doing the positive thing, so I can be lazy today.
I like that, but I think I already have enough excuses to be lazy. I don't need more. All right, so let's continue introducing ourselves a little bit. So Ashley downplayed how much she loves pirates, I think.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I just came from watching the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and there was only 40 minutes left, but I got choked up at least 3 times in those 40 minutes because I just love it so much.
And you've met some cast members
I-
from the Pirates movies?
I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Kevin McNally and actually having a little meal with him, and he offered me some wine, which I kindly
his wine?
refused. Yes.
Like his homemade wine?
No.
No, it was just his bottle of wine.
He
that
had
he
a
That would be-
glass of wine, and he's like, "Do you want some?"
Yeah.
That would be so
like,
cool if he was just like carrying around wine that he makes in his basement. And creepy.
He does live in Virginia, so maybe there's like a vineyard somewhere in Virginia.
could.
Where,
That
like,
could be, yeah.
Yeah. I missed a chance to meet some of the other cast, but just meeting Kevin McNally is, enough for me. I hope I'll get to meet more. Oh, I also got to meet Martin Cabela, who plays Marty in Pirates of the Caribbean. That was an interesting situation. We were waiting in our hotel area, the lobby, and he was waiting to either check in or check out, and I was just staring at him because I was like vibrating out of existence with excitement. And he caught me staring, and so I like went up and I was like, "I'm sorry, like I didn't mean to be rude. I'm a huge fan." And his response was, "You're beautiful." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. All right." So that was my second pirate meeting, but I like not just Pirates of the Caribbean.
You just like pirates.
pirates
in
in
general.
general.
Like
So-
you've been dressing like a pirate.
Like
since you
all
were a
thing
child.
pirates. Literally anything pirates. I'm all for that.
Your D&D
Like
character.
everything, like would you get on a boat and pillage villages?
See, if things were the same as they were in like the 1500s, then yes, I might. However, I think things are a little different nowadays, and I wouldn't say I'm so much about modern day pirates. I'm more of the historical pirate fan.
More of the patches.
Yeah, sure. But yeah.
All right, so let's do, since this is going to be a mostly Marvel type show, mostly.
Mostly.
Maybe mostly.
I mean,
We'll
Mike,
see where
Mike,
it goes.
Mike talks Marvel.
Mike talks Marvel.
Yeah,
Frank and Ashley, there's nothing in the title that says you have to talk Marvel.
that's true. We're not contractually obligated. You are, though.
I am.
So
I
you
do.
set yourself those boundaries.
Yeah. So, well, since I'm talking Marvel, who's your favorite superhero?
Mine?
Yeah.
Or both of us.
Both of you. You first.
Spider-Man. Love him.
You stole mine.
I know, but here's the thing. I knew you were going to say that.
Well played.
No, I have a few favorites. I think since I was a kid, Spider-Man and Wolverine were my top 2. And especially going to the movies and seeing them. And I've always had this kid-like dream of like, oh, what would it be like if Spider-Man and Wolverine like combined and you can have both powers, and like that'd be super chill. I guess if there's an amalgam of Spider-Man and Wolverine, that is my favorite.
I'm trying to think because I feel like that has been done.
A combo of them two?
Yeah, there has to have been somewhere.
I know there's the amalgam universe where it's Marvel and DC combine things.
I don't know that. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they for a brief blip in history, Marvel and DC decided to get together and make.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying like the characters actually melded together. So there was
I think
like...
there are melded characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there's like a Superman, Captain America.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And like a Batman, Wolverine. I think that's a thing.
Those would probably be the two. That
Yeah.
would go together.
But I mean, whoever's listening, please feel free to fact check me and tell me I'm wrong.
Check the hell out of them. I
Yeah.
want that. Yeah. And also tell us your favorite characters too. We want to hear it. One listener, CB, CB.
CB, if you're listening.
Ashley, your favorite hero and favorite villain? Because I actually, before you even start, I want to interject because the Marvel shows are going to be coming out soon, and one is going to have the Winter Soldier in it, and one is going to have Hawkeye in it. So you must be pretty excited about Disney Plus because I know you like those two.
Those are my 2 boys. I'd say the reason that those are my two boys is because, and this is technically the first superhero I was ever introduced to. Well, no, X-Men was, but I didn't realize they were superheroes when I was a child for some reason.
Did you think they were just dudes?
I don't know.
Just cool guys.
They were mutants to me. They weren't superheroes.
You racist.
That's the whole point of those movies.
Like, I was like 8 years old.
They're humans.
I loved X-Men, but the first superhero, quote unquote, that I was introduced to was Black Widow, and I wasn't actually introduced to her. I quickly Googled female superheroes, and the first thing I saw was Black Widow, and I went, yeah, sure, she sounds cool, and then had to do my research, watched the Avengers movies, and absolutely fell in love. So, I'd have to say my favorite superhero is Black Widow. She's just really badass, and her and I go way back. She was also my first cosplay ever, so there's a lot of little factors that tie in with that. I've read a lot of Black Widow comics, and many of them have contained the Winter Soldier and or Hawkeye, so that's why.
Which are her two.
So,
My
so
boys!
those are like your two boys, but they really stem from your girl.
Yes, she's had a lot of romances, I'll tell you that. She's even had a small romance with Tony Stark in one of the comics, so.
It's just bad decision making.
Yeah, you know.
Tony in the comics is like an alcoholic, and he's not in a good place.
You know who his sponsor was?
Who?
Captain Marvel. Also an alcoholic.
Huh.
The more you know.
Yeah.
So what about supervillain?
Ooh.
I think Magneto.
Yeah.
I just, like, I totally get where he's coming from.
You sometimes magnetize too.
Well, obviously. I mean, who doesn't? No, I get his view on things because, you know, he sees people as, like, judging him harshly, and he doesn't see that as fair, and so, you know, he wants
to lash back out.
Yeah.
He's angry.
It's relatable. It's relatable content.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And then the whole mutant allegory thing, I think that's a very good way to tell a story, I think.
Mine's Doom.
Doom?
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
Yeah. Because he's, when he's bad, he's real good at it. You know? Like, you know, the Secret Wars, like, everybody's scrambling to figure out what's going to happen when the two universes collide. And pretty much nobody figures it out. A couple people figure it out and save themselves, but not the worlds. And Dr. Doom not only saves the world, he makes it. He's like, this is my world now. I'm God. And then in the House of M, you have Magneto's the king there. And Dr. Doom's like his underling, and Dr. Doom like comes up with this whole plan to kill him. And it doesn't work. Magneto beats him to it, but it was a really good plan.
Yeah.
I think, so who do you think would be... All right, wait, we didn't get Ashley's answer on this.
No.
Well, I'm going to assume that since the title of this is Mike Talks Marvel, I'm not allowed to say Poison Ivy, so...
You can talk.
No, that's fine.
But
that's
it does
fine.
say Ashley.
It's okay.
We talk about a lot of things.
I'll stick with Marvel. Are you ready for this stereotypical fangirl answer?
Oh, I think I know. Yeah.
It's Loki.
Yeah.
I love Loki.
He's a good villain.
He's a good villain.
I mean, he's just really snarky, and like he's got that sass, and I love sassy villains. It's like one of my favorite things.
I like sassy all around.
Oh yeah, I
Sassy
do as
villains,
well.
Heroes,
But
and
I
friends in real
lean
life.
more towards villains for some reason. So
Yeah, villains are always the better way.
yeah, he's the annoying little brother to Thor, and I have an older brother, so I'm kind of like the Loki here. My brother's like the big, like, you know, one that everyone loves, and I'm just the little sister that's a pain in the ass. So
The cool thing about Loki is that he always has a plan, and you know, like, what he's saying isn't true.
yeah,
But then, even what you guess what his next step is going to be, you didn't get that next step.
oh yeah, I feel like
There's
he's
another
always
one.
like 10 steps ahead. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is always prepared. I like that.
So who would win in a fight, Loki or Magneto?
Ooh.
Have they ever fought? They must have fought at some point.
I mean, there's got to be at least one comic
Yeah.
with them fighting.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think I know it, though.
That's hard. Because
Is Loki wearing the metal helmet?
crushed and then, you know, good.
Game over.
Probably Magneto, I would think.
I don't know. Loki's a god. You
He
know?
is a god, that's
Yeah.
true.
He's also a trickster. So
Yeah.
that goes back to the like 10 steps ahead thing. Like he might be able to outwit him.
I feel like he could put metal inside Magneto and then make him magnetize to himself.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Why hasn't anyone done that?
I don't know. Except, I mean, there's metal in his blood. There's iron in his blood.
Yeah.
So technically, there is metal inside of him.
That's true.
Always.
That was X-Men 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Added the extra iron. To
The
blood.
best X-Men movie.
It is by far.
Oh, yeah, with Kurt
By
Wagner.
far.
My boy.
That's such a good scene.
That opening scene in the
yeah.
White House is
Yeah.
so good.
It's very well done.
Nightcrawler's another fantastic character.
And I feel that movie had the best usage of Mystique, too.
Yeah.
I thought Mystique was pretty badass in that movie,
Yeah.
the way she plots to get Magneto out of jail.
Mm.
That was all really good stuff. And I don't think she's ever been that good since.
No. Rebecca Romaine was a very good.
She was top notch.
Yeah, very good Mystique.
I mean, I like
Lawrence?
Lawrence better as an actress,
Do you?
but maybe not for the role.
Not that role.
Yeah.
She just always seems like she doesn't want to do it. Like she doesn't want to be there.
Jen Love?
Jennifer Lawrence, yeah.
That's kind of how I feel she is all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very no fucks to give.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, you see her in interviews and stuff, and she's just like, yeah, like, I ordered myself a whole pizza and I ate it all. Like, she doesn't care.
But that's why I like her.
Yeah, exactly.
Because celebrities
great.
always care too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yep.
Like when she's promoting a movie, like everyone else when they're promoting a movie, they seem like an advertisement. And she seems like, I'm here to be on this talk show. Whatevs.
Yeah.
That's true.
I do like that about her.
So what show are you most excited for?
That's such a hard
That is a
question.
really
There's so many. Actually, I had to look them up, so we're looking at what we got coming out.
I think I have to say Wanda and Vision.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because
See, that's such a curveball because we already established who your two boys
that
are.
I know
Yeah.
there's gonna be one
And
with
then
Buck
your
and
favorite villain, too, also has a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I love Scarlet Witch is probably my second favorite superhero, honestly. She's just
awesome.
so powerful and like she's been through I mean, most superheroes have been through some shit, but like I don't know. She's amazing and her and Vision together, I'm just really excited to see what comes out of it. I'd like to see them like fighting together more and stuff and
Yeah,
they're
that's
also really cute.
that is a plot thread that I want to see concluded or at least expanded upon because in Endgame, it's you kind of sit there through the whole movie like, wait a second, Vision wasn't in this.
Yeah.
What the?
So that's what's cool about that show is how does it even start?
Is this going to take
Yeah.
place before all the events of Infinity War, or is this going to take place after and somehow...
We don't know how.
I mean, it could also be an alternate universe.
True.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of options, but there's also the point that you have brought up before, Frank, of how Black Panther's sister
Oh, she scanned
scanned
the
his, like,
minds?
mind.
Yeah.
So if she has that information, maybe...
They make another Vision.
That's what. Yeah, that was my theory. Seeing Infinity War, after that, like during that scene, I'm like, oh, she's gonna remake him
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that.
because
I
they've got
think
the
that'd be neat.
vibranium.
Yeah.
He's made out of vibranium.
Yeah.
All they need is a little blast from Thor's weapon of choice, whether it be Mjolnir or Stormbreaker. That's all they need.
That's cool. So if they're gonna do the family angle, and they also have the Miss Marvel show coming out,
Mm-hmm.
could we get to see Viv? You think maybe, and then start building towards like a maybe smaller? They can't have completely the champions because they don't have the rights to Miles, right? But most of them.
I mean, I think anything is possible
Yeah.
in the
Really.
coming.
I'd like to see Polaris in it as well.
Yeah, Polaris and
Maybe just-
Wiccan.
Just a little cameo. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see much Polaris at all, really.
What are you most excited for?
Oh boy. I mean, besides all of them,
I know that's the thing. Every single one.
I think I'm actually the most excited for What If.
Yeah, me too.
Because literally the sky's the limit with that. I know they've been talking or teasing the Peggy getting the super soldier serum. So that's, I mean, it's just going to be a cool episode, and all the actors are reprising their roles, basically, or whoever is in each episode is reprising their roles. So I think that's really cool. And it's animated, so even the sky's even more the limit there.
Yeah, I say I'm the most excited about that one because I am like looking forward. But once the shows start, it's not going to be the one I'm most excited for because it's going to be its own thing every week,
Yeah,
and I'm going to get hooked on the shows, and they're going to make me want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
you're right.
I don't. It's so weird because it's like a little bit of that Kramer thing going on where when Seinfeld ended, everyone wanted to see Kramer in a sitcom, but then it didn't work. And that's like all of these characters are characters that can work fantastically on their own, or kind of would be weird on their own. And I don't know how any of them are going to pan out. It's Marvel, and they're doing everything right, so they're going to be good. But
Yeah.
but how? Like Loki, I'm assuming Loki's going to be the Loki in,
Endgame from the
Yeah.
alternate 2014 or
Yeah.
2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that because it has to be an alternate universe, so it can go anywhere.
Mhm.
And I hear he's going through all different points in history, which is gonna be fun. So that'll shake things up.
And they did that a little bit in the comics.
Yeah.
Where he was trying to figure out why he kept losing in no matter what dimension. He felt like there was some overlying force in all of the universes that were out to get him. So that was fun. So they could do something with that.
And it's interesting because it's gonna be a completely different Loki than we're used to seeing him last, because he has so much growth with the relationship with his brother in Ragnarok, and so he's kind of taking a step back into that like kind of childish, snarky, I'm the bad guy and I'm gonna act out sort of mentality. So it's a completely different Loki.
Yeah.
I think, which I'm both sad and
More
excited
whimsical?
about. I guess, yeah.
I hope it's like Teen Loki in the comics, because Teen Loki has some quality content in those comic books. I think that's, out of all the ages of Loki, I think Teen Loki is without a doubt my favorite.
I don't think I've read anything with Teen Loki.
Really?
No.
Have you read like Kid Loki?
No.
Okay, so there's a lot of Kid Loki. Teen Loki has a raven named Eichel, which is literally just Loki backwards.
Oh my god.
And he can turn into Eichel, and he's basically constantly like, I don't want to say pranking, but he's like pulling
Mischievous.
yes,
Yeah.
he's causing mischief all the time, and there's just some really funny shit in those comics.
Well, because he's a teen, like, he's already like the prankster god, and then as a teenager, that's like what all teenagers are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just amplified.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
I'll have to look for that now.
definitely.
The cool thing with the shows, I think, outside of the spectrum that they're Marvel, right, is that this is like the first time ever, I think, that you have this much power behind an entire universe of television shows. I don't think it was like until The Sopranos, really, that TV became more than like the secondary market. Like everyone wanted to be a movie star, but they did TV shows if they had to. Until Sopranos, I would say.
Yeah.
That's probably the big one. And then since then, there's been a lot of that where there's like TV shows that are big, and at times I think even bigger than movies.
Yeah,
Um,
because they've got so much more time to tell a story.
Yeah, but now it's like this is like a whole billion-dollar industry packed into one streaming service
Yeah.
with one universe. There's going to be a lot of star power on these shows, I think, and a lot of crossovers and a lot of people wanting to be a part of it. So I'm really excited
For
to see
sure.
what they do with it. Because if it fails, it's going to fail spectacularly.
Yeah.
And if
It's
it
going to go out with
works-
a bang, but I mean, if it does work, I think we're in a good place now because of the control and actual connectivity to the universe all these shows will have, versus when they were on Netflix, it didn't feel like they were
No,
part of the same universe.
It didn't.
Like they made references here and there, but it just didn't feel like it took place in the same world.
Yeah, I read an article about Punisher in particular, where if you had this alien invasion in New York City, the military probs would be more concerned with that than anything else,
Yeah.
than the stuff the military was into in the Punisher. Yeah, there was never really that. It was more like, here, throw in this reference to make it connect. Whereas this is really going to... And that's kind of cool, too, because mostly we've seen in the past, there's a TV show, and if it's popular enough, they have a movie afterwards.
Yeah.
You don't really see that happen in reverse. Like, these movies are so good, we're going to make an entire universe of TV shows around them.
I think the only instance I can think of that happening is the animated movie Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, where it was a movie first and it did so well that Nickelodeon was like, let's just make it a TV show now.
No, you're lying.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, that happened, yeah.
I mean, I knew that there was the TV show and the movie. I thought it was the other way around.
No,
I
it
did
was
not know
it
that.
was movie first.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know what their intentions were with that movie. It could have been like a backdoor pilot for a TV show like they do sometimes. I mean, as far as I know, it went movie and then show, and then it did very well on the network. I mean, it was up there with SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. I think those were the three big shows that kept Nickelodeon afloat.
Yeah, I think so.
Battlestar Galactica kind of did that in the reboot. They started off with a movie, but it was a movie. It was like the first episode, basically. It was just a 2-hour-long episode
Gotcha.
that they called the movie to start it. That's the only one I can think of.
But that still had something before it, right?
It was based off of an old TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was at least some fan recognition, if there was at the time, that this is a property that exists.
Yeah. Which this is totally Marvel. Nobody
yeah.
knows what Marvel is yet.
Then how are you talking about it, Mike?
This is going to put it on the map. Because I'm on the inside. I've got all the knowledge. I have 80 years of comic books knowledge that
The
nobody
hard
else
part
knows
about doing a podcast is people can't see my facial expressions as I just stare at you.
with utter contempt.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is very interesting because the three of us have different levels of like Marvel knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
I think it's very interesting to see the three perspectives on it. I think it's a well balance of knowledge because you know everything comics and you know obviously all the movies and stuff. My main, source of information is the movies, the few TV shows that I did watch in the early 90s when I was growing up, or mid 90s rather when I was growing up.
X-Men was the best cartoon of the 90s.
Absolutely.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Best theme song. See, I watched religiously the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I loved that.
I missed that.
Did you?
Yeah, I've seen it now, but when it was on, I was
okay.
not a part of that. I jumped into the Doogie Howser one.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, which was what, 2000s? Was that 90s too? Or late 2000s?
I think
Look it up.
2000s, yeah.
We're going to look it up
All
right now.
We're going to Google it.
And while we're doing that, you're going to continue what you were saying and go to Ashley.
And Ashley, she knows very specific comic lines.
Yeah.
I know hardly anything about Black Widow, and I mean, you know a lot about
yeah.
Black Widow. And to the fact that Wolverine is in her backstory, and I didn't know that, is wild. So
that's because I mean I may know the most of the comics out of the three of us because I've religiously read them, but there's so many fucking comics.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of comics.
Yeah.
There's so much I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's where you guys fill in a lot of gaps for me. Which is
That's
cool.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely, I'd say Ashley has maybe the most on the movies. Maybe you do.
I would have the most.
Yeah,
most on the movies.
he sees more of the movies than I do.
But I also I seek out information too. Like I'll watch those videos where it's like top 100 Easter eggs in this Marvel movie, and I'm like, give me that content, feed me this information, and I just learn by osmosis all these things about these characters. So it's just like, oh, did you know that Beta Ray Bill's face was on the tower in Ragnarok? It's like, what?
2003
That cartoon
was the Doogie Howser one. I don't know his real name.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Thank you. I knew it. I just could not think of it. Yeah, you told me that fact about Beta Ray Bill, by the way. I thought that was really awesome.
Did you ever go back and watch it and see
I didn't.
his face?
No,
Oh.
no. And I love Beta Ray Bill. He's
Yeah.
so good in the comics. He's in the new Guardians of the Galaxy. Him and Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is Punisher Ghost Rider. It was good for a little while.
Yeah.
Then I got into other things.
Well, as you do.
Yes, Spider-Man things.
Of course.
Now, I have a question for you guys. Approximately how many years, how long have you been into Marvel, whether it's the movies or reading comics or TV shows? How long have you been?
Good question.
Well, now I have to say my age, right?
No, you don't. You just say how many years.
Which is going to say a lot about my age.
What year did X2 come out in theaters? Was that
2000...
Was that before or after Spider-Man?
5, 4? I could be way off.
I think you are.
Way off.
I think was
2?
X2. Was it 02?
1964.
1964. You're right. So
Yes.
that's how long. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. It was in black and white.
I believe I saw X2 in theaters, but I think I saw Spider-Man 1 in theaters if that came out first. I think Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi movie, was 2002 because they had to remove Twin Tower stuff from that movie.
Right. Yes, that is true.
Which there's only one, I think, remnant of the Twin Towers in that movie, and I think It's either the movie or the advertisements. I'm not sure. There's a shot of it reflecting in his eye lenses, and that's the only time that you can see it in those whole movies. There's even an advertisement that had to get pulled.
I remember that where he's holding both of them, right?
There's
Like,
a
where he's, like,
helicopter.
hanging between them.
There's a helicopter caught in a web between the two
Yes,
towers.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Which
X2 was 2003.
2003. Okay, so
It wasn't that far off.
I mean, but now in the age of a Marvel movie comes out every year, you know.
I was way off.
Yeah, but no, 2002 when Spider-Man came out, saw that in theaters, and since then I was hooked. Watched the TV shows. I have a lot of Spider-Man action figures in my basement. I just found out.
I was gonna say, I have never seen a Spider-Man action figure in your house.
Yeah, no.
Star-Lord.
Well, now I've got since the
Yes.
the MCU blew up, and I love Star-Lord, and he was my second cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
I've collected all Star-Lord memorabilia.
So how many years is that?
For let's see, 2002, 17 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah.
I got into it in the 80s, so do the math. So I started with comic books. There was a particular, I was in the 4th grade, and there was a kid who saw that I was a big Hardy Boys book reader and said, "You got to get into that Wolverine. That's where the real action is." So I started going to the comic stores and got into Spider-Mans, and then after that, one of the first big series I picked up was the Infinity Gauntlet, which was building into that. I don't remember if I started with Gauntlet or if I actually got into the Thanos Quest stuff before that. But mostly Spider-Man and Punisher and Wolverine. Those are my 3 big ones as a kid, because that's the 3 big ones you get into as a kid. And then it was like the cards and stuff all this in the 90s when they started pumping out every collectible in the world. I was on it.
What about Pogs?
I was the guy that they were selling it to. Like,
Marvel Pogs.
Marvel Pogs?
Did those exist?
Pogs came out after I was too old for Pogs.
Oh, okay. You were
I
out
had
of the age
Pogs.
range. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was Marvel.
I don't think I did. I don't think I knew what Pogs were until now, in the age of we're looking back.
I knew Pogs pretty well because my nephew,
Okay.
who was way younger than me, had Pogs.
Gotcha.
And I remember thinking, wish I wasn't too old for this, because this is cool.
But you know what? Now we're in like an age where you're not too old for anything.
I know, you're not too old for anything anymore. It's such a good era.
And like geek stuff is mainstream. Like
It's kind of annoying.
Well, yes, but also, I mean, think back in the 80s, you were like bullied if you played Dungeons and Dragons, and now, I mean, there's billions, not billions, that's hyperbolic, but there's lots of Dungeons and Dragons podcasts out there and
Yes.
shows, and it's just so like welcomed, and people love their Game of Thrones and their Lord of the Rings.
Some people do.
Well, you know why it's cool, though? Because, like, I remember as a kid, parents were parents. It's like they just said to themselves one day, I have to be old now. Like, there's no more fun stuff. Get rid of all that fun stuff. That's kid stuff. Now I just worry about my bills. And it's such a douchey way to live. And now we don't have to live that way.
It's true.
We've decided that we can be kids for as long as we want. And you can still be a responsible adult.
Yeah, there's no saying that it has to be one or the other.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
There's a balance of both.
Absolutely.
I have been into Marvel for a solid 6 years.
Has it only
That's
been
all right.
6?
That's great too, though, because now we get all the eras too. We have the guy who's been into it since the 80s, the old guy who's like, back when I was a kid, Wolverine didn't go doing that. And then you guys, you got into it in like the early 2000s when the movies were first starting to like boom. So you have that cool perspective there of like, this is really cool stuff. Oh, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
See, because like my generation, like, they typically either love the movies or they hate them. They hate them because they've been waiting for them for so long that they envision this perfect utopian film world that they're never going to get to see. Or they love them because they've waited so long that they're just like, it's fine. They put them on the movies. I like it. And that's where I am.
Yeah.
And then you have the newer perspective, but that's a good perspective to get because I feel that's probably where the bulk of Marvel fans are right now. And that's cool. That's really cool to me. I know there's like that gatekeeping mentality with people who've been into something for a long time or they don't want new people getting into it. Yeah. But for me, it's like, 20 years I've been talking to people about Thanos, and everyone's like, what the hell is that?
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And now I get to say it, and people are like, look at this guy. He probably just saw one movie.
We know a few people who are very die-hard comic fans to the point where it ruins their movie experience, like you were saying.
I always hate that when people are like purists with like the source material.
Mm-hmm.
If like I don't want to see a movie that's exactly like the book I read, I'll just read the book again.
Yeah.
I want something that's different.
And
Change it.
If you want something that's like the comics, you end up with Ang Lee's Hulk.
Yeah. And that's what's cool about Marvel in particular is that they have all the universes and stuff, so they can mess with things any way they want all the time.
Yeah.
Every day. Like, here's something new. Here's a black Spider-Man, here's a female Spider-Man, here's an Indian Spider-Man, here's a Spider-Man with 6 arms.
Yeah.
And they can all have their own backstories, and cool, you can read the ones you want. I'm gonna read them all.
For how long has it been just like every superhero is a white straight male?
Yeah, way too long.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that goes back to the whole thing where it's like kids look up to these superheroes so much.
We need to give
we
every
see
kid-
it firsthand,
Yeah.
especially with
Volunteer
you
events.
dressing as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I have never seen a kid that doesn't like Spider-Man. We have people come up with their toddler daughter and they're like, Spider-Man's her favorite. It's like, so if they're looking up to these heroes, give them the female Spider-Man, give them the black Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they're going to look up to that even more,
Absolutely.
you know, because they want to be that superhero.
That was me
So,
as a kid.
yeah.
And, you know, I had Peter Parker, who I could see myself as, you know, or want to be like.
Yeah.
But other people don't have it. They didn't have it anywhere, you know. I mean, there was like some characters thrown in there. Usually, back then, they were like usually very insulting, almost, you know.
Yeah.
Just big stereotypes. And the cool thing I think with Marvel is that they didn't just phone it in and say like, "Hey, I think our audience wants us to diversify, so let's throw in some characters here." They actually, behind the scenes, hired more people of different ethnicities and cultures and races and stuff like that. So they didn't just say like, "Hey, white guy editor over there, make a black character too."
Yeah.
They hired black people and,
Yeah.
and people of all different races and nationalities. I think that's cool.
As it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Which brings me to my next point. Miss Marvel is going to have her own show.
Yep.
Is that going to be animated? Do we know yet? I have not heard.
I think it's going to be live action.
I also thought it was going to be live
I think
action.
I hope so.
but-
The only animated one is going to be What If,
Okay.
I think.
All right. Because I tried, when they announced that, because they announced that kind of in that bulk of like Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
But then I never saw anything say these are going to be live action shows. I think it was assumed that,
True.
and I hope that's correct.
Yeah.
Because those are great characters. I'm not as big. Everyone loves Moon Knight now, and I've never really. He's fine. He's cool.
I think it's just because he looks cool.
He does look cool. He had a fun little comic story recently where he was crazy. That was fun. That's my Moon Knight take.
I thought Moon Knight was a Kirby villain.
That's Meta Knight.
Okay. All right. How about that? I also like video games, guys.
Oh yeah, that's
Just
true.
don't have my facts straight.
That's you have the advantage on me with video games.
Oh, you know all the video games.
I've been playing video games since I was 3 years old.
Me too,
so-
but you put me to shame.
All right.
Because I also stopped playing video games, so you have much more knowledge on like the newer stuff.
That's
But you also just seem to retain it. Like I played video games, and I'm like, here's stuff that's happened. Tell me what character. I don't know. Was there characters? Was there people in it? I don't know. I did stuff. I jumped a lot.
Yeah.
But you get into those stories.
Well, a lot of the games I wasn't allowed to play when I was 3 years old, like Final Fantasy, I would remember the characters, and they would be my imaginary friends. Not imaginary. I mean, they were imaginary, but they were all already existing characters. But
And there was.
and then when I was finally able to play it, it was like, oh, okay, look, I already know these characters, and my video game knowledge is extensive.
Yeah, I mean, you were so young that your cousins would be playing Resident Evil 2, and
Yeah.
you'd be watching,
I would watch them
peering
play
around
Resident
the wall,
Evil.
watching it, being afraid but very curious.
I
Yeah.
used to go to my friend Tim's house and just watch him play that game. That was
Yeah.
the first game, I think, the first video game where I just wanted to watch people play it.
Mhm.
Like most games, it was so boring to watch your friend play. Like, let me give me that controller.
Mm.
But that game was just like, I want to watch this. This is a movie.
Yeah, and now they've remade it, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it just looks so good.
I've heard that. I have not seen it. I stopped playing games. I missed out.
It's never too late to start again.
I
There's
know.
also, I mean, if you don't mind it, you can watch people play it on like YouTube or
Yeah, that's
Twitch or
true.
whatever.
I
which
do that
we
a
do.
lot. I think that's one of my curses with horror games, because I have so much anxiety and stuff. I cannot play a horror game myself because the control will likely end up through the screen or out a window or something. But I'm so interested in the storyline of horror games, and I want to see it played through, so I'll either watch someone play it, or, like you said, I will watch someone on YouTube play through it.
Hmm.
Typically the more known YouTubers, like Markiplier or Jacksepticeye, but even still, like, watching someone else play it, like, when they jump, you jump, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's still exciting.
Now, what are your guys' favorite games of all time?
I was just gonna go. No, I was gonna say let's revamp that question. Let's
Okay.
do favorite, but also what's the one that hooked you the most?
Okay.
Because it doesn't
Alright.
necessarily they're not necessarily the same thing.
Okay, no, yeah, I agree. I'm a little biased here because it was the first video game I ever played as a 3-year-old. I did not do well, but it was The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And I have gone back and played it many times since then. I don't think I've ever actually beat it, but it will forever be my favorite game. I love all the Zelda games, but Ocarina of Time has that special place.
That's funny because one of the first real video games, because I did have an Atari beforehand, but the first real video game I ever played was the first Zelda, and I also never beat it.
Nice.
Yeah. Nor did I ever beat Castlevania
Ooh.
or Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I sucked at video games, by the way.
Well, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, understandably.
I sucked at Castlevania, so don't feel bad. You know who did beat Castlevania? My mom.
Really?
My mom is not a nerdy person. She is a business lady, but when I was a kid, she used to play video games, and she beat Castlevania. And I will never let her live that down.
That's funny. My parents, when I was a kid, used to play Pac-Man all the time. And,
Yeah.
And it's funny to think about that now, because like that's probably the only time they ever played video games.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
My dad was a big video game guy. I mean, we had the PlayStation 2, we had the Sega Genesis. I'm sure we had other things before that, but I was introduced through the PlayStation 2. The first game that I played and just hooked me into video games would be Sly Cooper 2. It's about a raccoon who's a thief, and it's just a wonderful game. It's a goofy game, but it's just so much fun. But the game that I
felt like
the
you
most-
should have described that. Like, it was this game, and it starts off in Paris, and it's this beautiful setting, and it's about a raccoon that does stuff.
It's a raccoon, it's a turtle, and it's a hippo, and they're thieves.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you want than that?
Is that the game that got you hooked?
That's the game that
or-
got me hooked.
Okay.
The game that I like the most and that I enjoy the most is Minecraft.
Oh,
And I feel like such a basic bitch saying that.
Such a good game.
It's just so relaxing.
It's so satisfying.
It is because you can do anything you want,
Yeah,
and it's just great. It's like Legos, but the game.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. I always wanted a game like that, and they've had them, but they were never to the caliber that is.
Yeah.
Until I stopped playing video games, and then they
True.
said, "Here you go, Mike. Here's your dream."
Yeah.
There was one on the PlayStation 1 or 2. You're going to have to fill in the name for me because I just can't remember. But it was supposed to be like you could build your own levels and stuff, and I never could figure it out. I tried so hard. But it was like what was the name of it?
What was it? What was in it? Like what things were in it?
There was like this one character. I can't remember. And there was like worlds, and you would like click on the world, and then you would like have these like building blocks to build a level. That was
Is it
sort
Little
of-
Big Planet?
That's the one.
Oh.
I could never figure out how to make a world in that. I tried
Sackboy.
so hard. Yeah, Sackboy. Yes.
Yeah, it was hard to.
My
Shut up,
nickname in high
Frank.
school.
Um,
Hey, Sackboy.
It's because you always wore a potato sack.
the fun thing about Little Big Planet was you could play other people's worlds. So like even when you couldn't figure out how to build your own, which I couldn't either, you could play other worlds that people built, and it was just really interesting. It was bizarre. It was a really bizarre game. The music was weird.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, in Little Big Planet, there's a cute little sack with a button eyes and
It's like a little potato sack
and a
guy.
mouth.
Like a little burlap
And
sack.
he's very cute. He's got like stubby little arms and he's adorable and he's a happy boy. However, the creators decided to give him emotions and let you control his emotions with the D-pad, and you could make Sackboy cry, and it was very sad when Sackboy cried.
Your
and
dad would do it on purpose.
my dad would purposely make him cry, and I would freak out and like start yelling and crying. I'd be like, stop, like don't make him sad.
You empathize with this little sack boy.
And my dad just used to get the biggest charge out of it, and it was not funny. So that's my story.
Back in high school, when my nickname was Sackboy, there were people who used to also make me cry over and over and over again.
Oh my
Were
god.
you waiting her whole story to say that?
No. No, I wasn't that clever.
Oh,
It took me
God.
a while to come up with it. I was crafting that whole time.
Gotcha.
As far as the Hooked game goes, I think I have to say Kingdom Hearts is the one game that
Is that hooked
me.
you?
You know, I've never played that. And it's one of those ones that everybody always said I needed to play,
Yeah.
but I just never did.
I've only played one.
Hmm.
So
I
and
never beat any of them.
I think I only played a level of it.
Freaking Tarzan's camp. I never got past it. Oh,
I didn't get outside the first words.
camp.
Tarzan's camp.
Never
It's
forget
always
it.
Tarzan's camp. So my two hooked games, because I have two,
Okay.
from completely different eras in my life, was Tetris. As a
Good
kid.
game.
As a kid, I played it with so much that I would like turn the game off and just look at everything around me as shapes that I wanted to push together. Then, as an adult, I really, really got into Gears of War Online.
Okay.
The first two multiplayer.
Great series.
That's a good series.
Yeah, the first one, I was like, every night, I'd get out of work, come home, play that game till like 5 in the morning with some friends online.
I see you as a Halo guy.
And I was in a relationship that whole time, and she was so jealous of Gears of War because it took up more of my time than she did. And I was
Video
good.
games are dangerous.
Pretty good. I was pretty good. I would say I was in like the first bracket of players that got the 10,000 kills award.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I played it so much.
See, the only first-person shooter type game sort of like that I used to do, well, first off, I started with Halo. Then I went to Call of Duty,
Mhm.
and let me tell you,
I was no good at the Call of
I
Duties.
was awful.
Yeah,
I'm
not good.
very bad at first
I
person
was
Me
shooters.
too.
horrific.
Generally, except for Gears of War, because it was such a different style. Gears
It
of War.
is. It's very different. I never got into Gears of War personally. I've watched people play it just because I'm so bad at first-person shooters.
Mm.
Like Overwatch, I adore Overwatch. I love the characters. I'm no good at it. I'll still
I'm
play.
bad. I think it's my problem is I'm bad at aiming,
Yeah.
and it takes me forever, and I don't know how people can just line up their shot.
So quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
it's-
hard.
See, that's why Gears of War was cool, because it had like this like technique you could train yourself on with this sort of snapshot. So you would like slide behind something and then aim where you know a guy is gonna be, then duck down and you're in that snapshot. So then
Oh, okay.
you hit the button,
Yeah.
boom, blast their head off.
Hmm.
But yeah, otherwise first person shooter was terrible.
Yeah.
And they're always like everyone's jumping high. There's a lot of high jumps in those
Yeah,
games, and I'm
yeah.
like, that's too much for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Minecraft, guys, that's a good relaxing game.
It's good.
But
It's
my
Don't do that.
favorite game
yes, your favorite.
I was not addicted to. I just really loved the story was Mass Effect, the Mass Effect series.
Okay.
All three of them. I loved them.
Mass
I'm
Effect.
very
The whole
surprised
universe.
that Marvel Ultimate Alliance isn't on your list of.
Yeah,
games.
I liked them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
But-
it. Nothing else to say about it.
yeah. I just liked them. They were fun. But Mass Effect was like I felt like that universe. You know, you got into
True.
it. You got into the different
Mhm.
races. It was like a Star Wars kind of thing where you get into. There's a whole universe to learn about. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's got their backstories and character traits, and
Yeah.
it's cool.
It's like a Dungeons and Dragons video game.
And I also really loved, they were like more like short loves, you know, like they came out, I played them for a while, really loved them. I would still consider them in my tops,
Mhm.
but that was it, like I never went back to them. Is Dead Space,
Okay.
Oh, scary.
really scary,
Yeah.
good scary. And then The Last of Us. I really love The Last
Last
They
of Us
just
is
made
a
a second one.
fantastic
I
game.
know.
My
It's-
girl Ashley Johnson.
on-
That's the only thing that and the Spider-Man game are the only two things that have made me consider going back into video games.
What about the new Marvel game that's coming out?
I don't know yet.
The Avengers
I don't know.
game?
I've seen some clips.
I
We'll
have
see.
as well.
We'll see.
Just recently, I've
Some
started
more
seeing
Critical
some
Role
clips.
members in that.
Yeah. Speaking of Critical Role, we like Dungeons and Dragons, and
Yeah, we completely skipped that in our descriptions of ourselves.
Yeah, you
probably
guys are
should have
big
said
into
that.
that.
It's
we can talk more about it next time.
yeah.
too.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
We can go into a big
Yeah.
TV segment.
I don't
But we're
know
just-
when this video is this podcast is going to be released, but it's Thursday, and that means Frank and I have Critical
Critical Role
Role. So,
How soon?
Yeah,
Cool.
soon.
Cool.
So
Yeah, we can get into that. I want to start as we're doing this, build more little sections of what we're
Yeah.
going to talk about and stuff.
We'll
but
definitely
we're
get
just feeling
more
it out right now.
organized.
We're
Yeah,
playing
this is
around
all-
right now. Yeah. So, but this was fun. This is a good little way to intro it, and I think we filled up the space with some quality content,
I think so.
yeah,
and everyone is going to listen to it, including the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, who is going to say, "Run to the presses with that Silk book. We need to make it now."
Now, I really hope that one day that this podcast gets so big that the editor-in-chief of Marvel does listen to it, and
Listen,
then we
we
can be
have
like, we started
ins.
it. Oh, that's true.
we have ins already.
We do have ins.
You have ins at Marvel?
We know a person.
We know some people.
Who? Wolverine?
Look, that's classified information.
That's true.
You know Spidey's.
All of them.
So here's what we need everyone to do. We need people to first of all be listening right now,
That'd be good.
and then follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm gonna make that before this airs. That will happen. Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. One of those. It'll be on some things. Look on the social media.
Look on the social media.
Look up Mike Talks Marvel. Frankly, no, just look up Mike Talks Marvel.
Mike Talks
on
Marvel,
the social medias.
yes.
On the social medias, and I will have stuff there. I don't know what it'll be, but there'll be stuff. And then you're gonna take the podcast and you're gonna rate us. First of all, whatever you're listening to this on, and then send it to CB at Marvel. And so he's just going to get inundated with emails of this show until he says, I got to listen to this thing.
Which, I mean...
Only
we'll
you
see.
can make Silk happen, listeners. I'm counting on you.
Again, they can't see the expression on my face right now.
It's a face of love. It says, I love Silk. He's right. Bring me Silk.
I don't think there's any falsehood in that statement.
I think so, too. That's what we saw. That's how it's being described to the listener.
All right.
Yeah.
Singular.
One listener. Well, technically there's three, because all three of us.
Yeah, we're going to listen to it over and
She
over
might
and over
not.
again.
Listen, I have 9.23K subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
get
the-
us some listeners
You're
here.
the most internet famous, so
Yeah.
get us
Bunch
some.
of 10-year-olds. But they'll still listen.
Cut out the swearsy. Cut out the
No,
swearsies.
we've done live streams on the YouTubes and sworn, and they were like,
Okay.
whatever.
They
Alright.
just don't tell their parents.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll be good. We'll get there.
So how do we exit? We need an exit.
Oh,
here.
yeah, we didn't
need
think of that.
We
Door.
did. We said one.
Did I write it down? Hold on.
I'm ignoring Ashley's joke there.
From hanging out with him too much.
Yeah, that's good, though.
We got to say something. We got to end this with a word, with a boom. We need like a
Oh,
boom
no.
catchphrase.
I remember what it was. It was like, Excelsior later.
Excel. See you later.